See you on Thursday.
See ya. Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another Cruiser Chat with Otram. Same as usual, I have no topic or anything really going on, so whatever you want to chat about, just let me know, and I'll answer questions if I can. And hopefully you guys can hear me okay, and this is actually working. I swapped around some of the stuff on the shop computer to try to make it work a little faster. Yeah, and I'm thinking about moving chat from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock to make it easier for folks to tune into, since 5 o'clock everybody's just leaving work, at least on the East Coast. And I picked up a new laptop over the weekend, so I'll actually have something fast enough that I can do live chat from home. So I can go home and feed the dogs and then come on and do chat. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think about moving it from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Because I'm thinking about doing that. Maybe it'll make it easier, but I haven't quite decided yet. And I guess news-wise, we got new shop stickers that I finally like. I've tried a couple of different sticker makers before, and I've never been super happy with the stickers. So I finally got some local guys that made me some, and I really like them. So yeah, when you guys come through the shop, let me know and remind me to get stickers. Oh, and we've got a short week this week because of the holiday. We've got 80 series head gasket to do and a 3FE 80 series exhaust to mock up. So it's going to be a long week. What do we charge for shock spring torsion bar conversion on 100 series? I should know this off the top of my head because I just looked it up. It's like 9.5 hours. So just under $1,000. And hopefully this is still working on you guys' end because it looks like it's spinning wheel of death on my end. So yeah, it's right around $1,000. I can actually look that up to know for sure. $968 for basic labor for doing shocks and torsion bars and rear springs. It goes up if you end up doing like upper control arms, diff drop, stuff like that. And then we send them out to an alignment shop after we're done to get the alignment done. And that usually adds $100, unless everything is really seized and rusted, in which case they add more on for how much they have to mess with it. Sometimes the 100 series suspensions go pretty easy. Sometimes it's a lot of Sawzall and air chisel to get them apart. We had one in a couple of weeks ago that the torsion bars were so rusted into their sockets, we ended up having to cut the torsion bars in half to get them out of the truck. And then we put the sockets and the torsion bars in the 50-ton press and pressed the bars out of the retainers. It was crazy. I'd never had one that stuck. Most of the time, it's pretty easy. It's a lot easier on a lift than like doing it on your back in a driveway. But yeah. We've been doing a ton of 100 series lately for like blown AHC systems. We just finished one, and we've got two more in the lot waiting to get converted. Let's see. Just 1 second, let me grab the phone. Oh, Tram, Ryan speaking. Do you guys get 8 million telemarketer phone calls a day? I don't know why these people think I need so much health insurance. Oh, and I guess I should give an update on the contest we were running for subscribers, subscribing in the month of August, and we would pick one September 1st to get a free hour of one-on-one chat assistance or phone call or an hour shop labor here at the shop. So I used the random number generator to pick a subscriber, and went to count through the list of subscribers and realized that the subscriber list only shows me the subscribers that are listed as not private. So I'm going to have to figure out a different way to sort through those. So stay tuned. I haven't forgotten about the contest. I just haven't figured out a good way to pick the winner. Height sensors on the LX. You know what? I've never actually changed a height sensor. I've messed with them, adjusting them a little bit to play with the height. If you follow the marks, if you line the bolts back up where the old bolt holes were, because it's like on an adjustable slide, if you line those back up and plug it in, I would assume it would be good to go. But I'm not positive. I've never actually gone through trying to calibrate them. But likely, if you're out of adjustment, you can just adjust it manually on that little rod, or not the rod, the slider, and just fiddle with it until it's right. I don't think there's like a computer calibration for it, but I'm not positive. Let me see. Let me pull it up and see if it says it in the factory manual. Doo-doo-doo. So it looks like you adjust it based on the voltage output from the sensor, according to the manual. So it doesn't look like there's any calibration needed. If it's off, if the height is off when you adjust it, um, you can probably just fiddle with it to get it to adjust. It doesn't look like it's any software initialization. Double check, go to... Yeah, it's not showing anything like software-wise to initialize it. So it's just adjusting it with the little slide. Yeah, like nobody ever has us actually fix the AHC system when there's an issue. We just chop it all out and replace it with a standard system. Nobody ever wants to spend the money to make the AHC work again. I've got the new laptop cloning a hard drive on the other side of the desk, so just checking to make sure it's still running. Life on the control arm bushings of 100 series. Um, we haven't seen a lot of them go bad. It's funny that you mention it because we just wrote up a set of rear uppers on a truck today that are torn out. But I think the reason those were torn is because the AHC failed and the guy's been riding around with the suspension completely bottomed out because it looks like they twisted past their normal position and ripped. I've looked at replacing the fronts for a customer. We ended up buying new lower control arms and went to press the frame side bushing, like the rear front one, out of the frame. And it was so seized in that the frame started to distort rather than the bushing come out. So we stopped pushing on it and just left that one be. So we really haven't seen many issues with them. We really haven't seen that many 80s wear them out either. We had a guy a couple of years ago had me replace all of the bushings in his 80, and it really didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. The new lower control arms come with the front bushing in them, and then it's weird. Like the rear controller mount is like a U, and it wraps around a bushing that's in the frame. So you've got to buy that bushing separately. I think the Toyota upper control arms come with bushings, but I'm not positive. I've never actually ordered a factory set of uppers. And I'm ordering parts for a bumper build next week, so I'm doing two different windows here. Yeah, we've done a aftermarket lower control arm, going brain dead, lower ball joint, and pressed it into the factory arm. And it was not fun. It's much easier just to swap new control arms in. It depends on the condition of your upper control arms. If they're in good shape, I probably wouldn't mess with replacing them because they're pretty easy to go in after the fact. they're pretty easy to go in later and change afterwards. So you're not saving a ton of effort while you're in there. Because really, to get the CV out, you just have to pop the ball joints, top and bottom, and undo the brake lines to take the whole spindle off. But yeah, it's not a terrifically fun job, but it's not terrible. Be careful when you're taking everything apart. Be careful of the ABS wiring and the brake hoses, so like hang the caliper from something so it's not hanging on the hose, and disconnect the ABS sensor. Be real careful trying to pull it out of its bore. I've had them be like rusted, seized in there, and they'll kind of just rip and pop apart when you try to take them out, which makes for a mess. And those sensors aren't cheap. I think if there's anything else. You'll have the dust cover with the wheel bearings off, but you don't have to take the flange or anything loose. So unless you really wanted to, it doesn't make much sense to go into the wheel bearings. So yeah, I mean, I would probably just do the CVs and the lowers while you're in there, and leave the uppers if they're in good shape. Any special tools? I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm completely drawing a blank. You'll probably want like a ball joint service set, like the ball joint poppers. I'm trying to remember if I've used those or if just the big hammer trick works easier on the 100 series. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think I've done it both ways, you know, just shocking them with a big hammer to get the tapers loose and also using a ball joint popper. You'll want a floor jack to help lift the lower control arm spindle up and down so you can get the upper control arm bolted back on. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly pretty straightforward. A good pair of snap ring pliers makes getting the snap ring off the end of the CV shaft easier. That's about it. Trying to think. I think it's an extra long 19 box end wrench makes the upper ball joint stud nut easier to get off. But I think you can get a short socket in there also. We just did this last week, but Danny did it, not me, so I don't have it fresh in my head. I'm drawing a blank on what FD is. Oh, front differential probably. Trying to think. To do the I don't think you can get the front cover off. I don't think you can get the front cover off with it in the truck to check backlash. Trying to think how that mounts. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get the front cover. I've never tried, but I don't think you're going to get the front cover loose with the front axle still in the truck. I think you're going to run into that one frame drop bracket. Yeah, the front frame drop bracket. I don't think you can get the cover off. So yeah, I would, when you go to do the fluids, just look at the magnet on the drain plug. And if you've got an excessive amount of metal shavings, then there's a pretty good indicator that you've got wear in the front end. A little bit of accumulation on there is normal, but a big pile of metal, and you'll see it. With the CV axles out, you're pretty close to having the whole front end out. You just have to undo the drive shaft and the other 3 mounts, and it'll just drop out the bottom. So yeah, I mean, if you were going to put a locker in it, it would save you a little bit of labor because you'll already have the axle shafts out. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for an excuse to put a locker in, I'd say, yeah, go for it. I'm trying to think. I think which ones we did. I did ARBs on a newer truck recently, and I wasn't a huge fan of the way they went in. But I think that was on I think it was the 200 series that was a real pain to put together. The 100 series wasn't bad, if I remember correctly. Or you could do it the easy way and just put an e-locker in it. So we haven't had anybody ship them to us yet. I've got a guy we just sent an estimate to this afternoon that found us on YouTube and wants to send an 80 series front diff to us. Most people, I'm not one of the huge big cruiser shops, so nobody really knows who I am or that I exist or that we do lockers and transmission rebuilds and transfer case rebuilds. Nobody knows that we do that except for our local customers. So we don't really have anybody shipping stuff to us. I'm not in any way opposed to doing it. We do lockers and diffs and transmissions and transfer cases all the time. Yeah, it's something we do a lot of. Nobody ever thinks to ship them to us. Which it's funny, we're getting more calls on differential rebuilds and stuff since we started doing the YouTube videos. And also since we started sending out the stainless steel exhausts. I guess now that those are going out, more people are hearing about us. But yeah, we're just, a little small shop in the boonies of Virginia. So nobody ever thinks of us. We have people semi-local people will drop axles and stuff off for us to build. Um, we just had a guy. It was weird. Like he must have blown apart a whole 40 in his front yard because he would just randomly bring us chunks of drivetrain. I think we've done everything but the engine so far. Yeah, we started doing the YouTube videos just to like answer questions, because people would call and we were getting a lot of the same questions, and I'm like, I'll do a knuckle YouTube video, and then when people call, I can say, hey, watch the video, um, and they're fun to do, and I figured, people would use the videos to do their own work, and it would like lighten up our workload. But it's been quite the opposite. We're getting so many estimates for doing the auto height control deletes on the 100 series, timing belts on 100 series, uh, stuff like that, just off people watching the YouTube videos and being like, no, I don't want to do that. Can I just bring it to you? So yeah, the videos are a lot of the reason we're going to end up taking the other half of the shop, because right now we've got 3 bays, 2 that are mostly useful. So when we get a dead truck in 1 bay, production comes to a standstill, and we're getting busy enough. I think we're booked out like 2 months right now. So we need the other half of the shop just to keep up with the work that's coming in, and we're starting to get more calls for custom fab work, which I don't do a ton of, but I enjoy doing it. So if the projects are interesting, I'll take them on. Which is funny. I've got my email window open on the other monitor, and we just got an estimate request for regearing 80 diffs, and it's somebody that wants to ship them in. So you were right. Maybe the tide is changing. Hey, Alex. And I hope it's less hot and muggy where you guys are. I'm in the office where the AC's been cranking all day, and it is still kind of muggy. Yeah, I guess you guys aren't getting it any better off than we are. We went down to Charlottesville over the weekend, and it was super muggy. I couldn't believe how hot it was. We were staying in a little cottage that just had window air conditioning units, and they were struggling to keep up. I want a blown head gasket 1FZ. That seems to be the way you get them cheap. We just diagnosed a head gasket on an 80 series today. And I thought about doing a head gasket video using that one, but we've got that and an exhaust to build this week. And since Danny doesn't weld, I've got to build the exhaust, which means Danny's doing the at least tear down on the head gasket. And he is not down with making videos. So head gasket video is going to have to wait for another one. But we seem to get them every month or two. It's not a terrible job, just time consuming. My brother picked up, I think it's a 96 with a blown head gasket a couple of months ago. And man, somebody had just redone the leather. It looks beautiful inside. Yeah, oh yeah, the Pesky heater hose is awesome to do when the engine is out. I kicked myself, I guess it was probably about a year ago. Did a whole head gasket. And normally I do the pesky heater hose while the head's off and I've got the lower intake on there. Totally forgot to do the pesky heater while the head was off. Put everything back together, and then looked up through the wheel well while I was hooking wiring back up and realized I hadn't put the pesky heater hose in. Oh, I was so mad. It's not bad to do once you've done a gazillion of them. But it was just one of those, it's so easy to do when the head's out that I kicked myself for having to do it in the truck. Hey, Paul, your truck is up and running. We drove it over to alignment earlier this afternoon. So hopefully they'll get that back to us tomorrow, and you can have your truck back. And it has brakes now. No problem. Um, I don't even know. I mean, I would assume our local Toyota dealer has an alignment rack. I've never actually used them. Um, we've got it's like a truck shop, like a big rig truck shop, not too far from here, that has a decent alignment guy. So we use them most of the time because it's easy to shuttle the vehicles over. If it's something squirrely, there's a shop a little further away that does really, really precision alignments. But for most everything, it's not needed. So yeah, if the alignment shop's got good reviews, there's nothing special on a Toyota. The first couple like adjustable control arms I sent over to our local guy, I had to go over there and show him, what to do because they were just used to doing, standard alignments. But beyond that, we haven't had any problem, just using a local alignment shop. And it's funny, it seems like alignments come in batches. We've got 3 that need to go over. So we took Paul's this afternoon, and then we'll take another one when his is done, drop that one off and pick his up and just keep swapping them till we've got all the alignments here done. I'd love to have an alignment machine in-house, but I don't have a bay to give up and devote to an alignment machine, nor do I have like the $40,000 one costs. We don't do enough of them to make it worthwhile. So we just use the local guys. Yeah, alignment machines are stupid expensive. Um, I'd have to do so many alignments to pay for one. As it is now, I want new lifts, new 2-post lifts for the shop, and it's going to be like 14,000 for the 2 of them. So I'm not looking forward to that. But I hate the lift we've got now, so it's an investment in safety. Do you follow? There's an Australian Facebook page. It's like 1FZ turbochargers or something like that, or turbocharged 1FZ. Uh, those guys have a ton of info on all the different turbo stuff. I've been following Wits End's turbo kit uh, with some interest. I had a local customer that wanted me to build him a turbo manifold. I got as far as drawing everything up in AutoCAD so I could get the manifold flange water jet cut. And then Joey decided to build a turbo kit at Wits End. So I was like, man, why reinvent the wheel? I'll just use whatever Joey comes out with because it's going to be top notch coming from him. So I'm just following his gig. The We've done several supercharged 80s here, and man, it makes them fun to drive. I've never driven a turbo 80, but I can only imagine that a turbo 80 would be even more fun. Uh, I had a 7M GTE Turbo Supra back in the day, and the turbo version was way more fun to drive than the non-turbo. So I would assume that it crosses to the 80s too. And I like the way that Joey's doing it with the J pipes and keeping the factory manifold for just ease of maintenance. So I really like the idea of a Turbo 80. I've never driven one. I've never worked on one, but in theory, I like it. Yeah, I can't imagine that they wouldn't have turbocharged it at some point. It just seems to be the way everybody's going. Um, like, uh, you see all these the new little four cylinders. Like I've got my accountant's got a Ford Explorer that's got a 2-liter turbocharged motor in it, and it gets that Explorer around. Um, so it seems like everybody's moving to turbocharging to try to get some more fuel economy. So yeah, it would have been awesome had they continued it and done it in the 1FZ. And it seems like a really common thing to do in Australia is to turbocharge them. Yeah, it's like everything new is turbocharged, which I'm sure we'll start seeing turbo failures when nobody pays attention to their oil changes or oil specs for the new stuff. But I guess that's to be expected. Let's see what day. Tomorrow's Wednesday. My week's all messed up this week. Wednesdays I leave a bit early because I've got a meeting to hit. So I'll be here till like 4:30. Crash will be here till 5. And I don't think Blue's in tomorrow. So yeah, I mean Danny will be here till 5. Um, or we can always hide your keys for you. Um, and just lock it up in the parking lot with the keys hidden somewhere, and let you know where the keys are, and then you can grab it anytime. Gotcha. Yeah, just let us know, and we can figure something out. Um, and it depends. I may not end up going to the meeting tomorrow. It depends on if I want to drive all the way in, and I haven't decided that. Uh, so if I don't end up going to the meeting, I can stay around later. Awesome. Yeah. And if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna jump off of here a couple minutes early, so I can finish closing everything up here at the shop and get home for dinner, because we're having burritos tonight, and I'm hungry. So yeah, I will catch you guys next week. Um, Thinking about switching chat time from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock to make it easier for folks to tune in. So just let me know what you think, whether we should keep it at 5 or move it to 6. You can just comment below or comment in the chat thingy. But yeah, just let me know what time works better for you guys. And I'll see you next week. Thanks.